eyes. And so when we saw him on shows like The Wire, you could understand where his character, Omar, was coming from.
Yeah.
You may not have liked where he was coming from. You may not have liked his actions or the violence associated with him, but you could understand him.
Yeah.
And it's a rare actor that has that gift, and he had that gift.
Yeah, he certainly had a gift, and you're talking about giving back to his community, and he never really forgot his roots. Growing up in Brooklyn, right? He was New York's very own. He started his career, though, and some might not know this, as a dancer. OG was talking about this earlier, for some big names as well. So how did he transition then into acting?
Well, that's another part of his story that's incredibly inspirational, because he was a guy that started off in music video world, you know, dancing for people like George Michael,
Yeah.
people like Madonna. But then, when he was 25 years old, he got cut in a fight outside of a party, that famous scar that he had running down his face. And then he found that he had to transition to something else, and he found that people began to want him to play roles in movies because they found his look interesting. And he ended up being cast by Martin Scorsese in a movie. He ended up later getting into The Sopranos, getting in The Wire, really the series that kind of made his name. And what's so inspirational about that is that he didn't let that cut down his face define him. He decided to use that to really transition and to propel himself into a whole new career. And I think that's very inspirational, very instructional for anyone that has something terrible happen to them. You don't have to let that really put the boundaries on your life.
Yeah.
You can turn that and make that into a force for good for yourself and for others.
And TJ, people are saying that he may be gone, but Omar Little lives on, and he did not want to be typecast after playing that role. You know, and he was very deliberate and intentional about the roles he chose. And it is not an easy feat in Hollywood for any actor, but to be a black actor, that's a lot. So talk to us about that.
We also talk about the fact that the intersectional nature of his career, where he also repped for the LGBTQ plus community, of playing an LGBTQ plus activist in When We Rise. Omar, of course, was in The Wire, was gay. He played other gay roles. And so he's someone that, you know, did play a whole range of roles on the screen. Unexpected, challenging, and not settling for the ordinary. And when an actor does that, he's someone you celebrate, someone you remember, and he certainly will be remembered for what he did and what the impact he continues to have. I mean, he is up for that Emmy for Lovecraft Country. And there's something that he said that always sort of struck me, where he said, you know, people often see him as a very authentic actor, and he said that he's tired of just keeping it real. He wants to redefine what reality is. And that's what he did in his career. And I think that's what he'll continue to do with his legacy.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that, because throughout his career, he was always honest about his struggle with addiction, right? What did he have to say about that publicly?
Well, you know, publicly, he said that he was the kind of actor that went so deep into some of his roles that it had an effect on his ability to hold on to sobriety. But he also said that was a choice he was willing to make, that it was so important for him to get on screen the struggles, the demons, the problems people face when they're trying to face up to addiction and to drugs, that he was willing to take on that burden, go through that emotional dark road on screen if it was going to help the next person.
Oh, very interesting. You know, and we highlighted it a little bit with what you said earlier, but he used his platform always to raise awareness, right? And our James Ford highlighted what he did for some folks who were trying to navigate back into the community after jail, and it's a fantastic story. I highly recommend people check it out. But I think when some people hear celebrities attached to community organizations, they think it's just a money surface level thing, but not for him. He was very hands-on, right?
Yeah, because that's the background he came from. You know, he's someone I identified with a lot, because he's someone that had roots in the Caribbean, as I do. He was around the same age as I am now. And he was someone that, you know, latched on to social issues that he saw in his community that he wanted to change. He once said that, you know, he wasn't what he called a thug, but he certainly knew a few.
Yeah.
And so he wanted to make sure that those people were connected to, that they felt seen in his work and in his charity efforts. And as such, he was someone who worked with the ACLU as an ambassador for mass incarceration to try to solve the problem of why so many people, especially people of color, are locked up in America. he wanted to change that. So he saw issues in his own life, his own community, and he tried to make positive change to make things better.
Well, he clearly touched people on screen and off, and the tributes have been pouring in. We highlighted some of them earlier on. So are there any you'd like to highlight now? Because the one by Wendell Pierce was very moving. His co-star from The Wire, Kerry Washington, Mariah Carey, it goes on. So are there any that you would like to highlight?
Yeah, there's one tribute I think is really worth putting out there. You know, when he passed, HBO put out a statement saying he was part of the HBO family. And people say that all the time, but he truly was part of the HBO family, you know, appearing on The Wire and The Sopranos and other great HBO shows. So much so, I think we associate him with the rise of really great TV. I mean, the shows he was on really represented the golden age of television, when TV went beyond just ABC, CBS, NBC, and onto these cable stations where you saw these great epic stories that tried new things and had really interesting and edgy characters. He was part of that again and again. So not only did he make an impact in his life, he really helped. He was one of the people that sort of helped change the character of TV. And that HBO tribute, saying that he was part of their family, I think really spoke eloquently to that.
Yeah, makes me want to go back and watch some of those shows,
Yeah.
right?
Well, CJ, thanks so much. Our hearts do go out to Michael's loved ones this morning. CJ Farley, we do appreciate your insight.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
CJ.